Boro could be on the brink of losing one of their most creative, important and attacking talents. And no, I'm not talking about Hayden Hackney. We might be on the verge of losing Finn Azaz. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and we all thought we would be sweating in the next week or so over the future of Hayden Hackney. Turns out another one of Boro's most influential and important players could be out the door as well, and this one looks like it could move quickly and looks very, very likely to happen, as Southampton dropped a bid in for Boro centre attacking midfielder Finn Azaz, which has been rejected by the Boro, but it does very much seem like Southampton, with the might of the parachute payments that they have, will have no issue whatsoever coming back in and likely matching Boro's valuation. That, paired with the believed rumours that Finn Azaz would be open to the move, this looks like it could be one that gets done very quickly. And of course, it's a huge blow. This is a player who got 12 goals and 11 assists for Boro last season, already has an assist to his name this season, and overall has been one of the best, most creative and influential players in the whole of the Championship over the last few seasons. And losing him would be such a huge blow. Not only that, but losing him to a fellow Championship side as well would be also even bigger of a blow. Before we discuss our thoughts on this, let's take a look at the latest. This was dropped by Scott Wilson yesterday. Of course, as with transfers, I'm recording this on Thursday night. A lot could change between now and when this video is actually dropped, but it does mention that Finn Azaz will be part of Boro's squad at Norwich at the weekend after the Teessiders rejected a bid from Southampton for the Irish midfielder. Southampton tabled a formal offer for Azaz early this week, but it did not meet Boro's valuation of the 24-year-old, having signed Azaz from Aston Villa for £2.5 million in January 2024. The Boro hierarchy are understood to want at least £12 million before they consider allowing a sale to take place. There are suggestions that Azaz has indicated a desire to move to St Mary's, and Southampton are reportedly preparing an improved offer which could be tabled before the weekend. However, Rob Edwards has been delighted with Azaz's attitude and effort in training this week, and as things stand, the Boro boss intends to name midfielder in his squad at Carrow Road on Saturday. Azaz was a second-half substitute and, of course, got an assist in Boro's win at Millwall. So, in terms of this potential outgoing, it would be a huge blow for Boro. As we know, Finn Azaz's numbers speak for themselves, and he is one of the most creative and influential players in the Championship, never mind at Boro. And he was a player who earlier in the window was linked with specific moves, and there were murmurings of a potential transfer, but it went really, really quiet, and our focus from there on in shifted to Rav Vandenberg and Hayden Hackney, and out of the blue, this has dropped, and it really throws a spanner in the works when it comes to the final week of Boro's window. Now, we'll get to Hayden Hackney in a bit, but I think many people were worried enough that we might be losing Hackney between now and the end of the deadline. The idea that we might lose him and Azaz is absolutely horrible. So that is an issue Boro are going to have to look at, and we will discuss that in a bit. But for Azaz solely, individually, it would be a huge blow, you know, and I think in terms of his numbers, I don't see how we replace that unless we reinvest it in someone who can step into the Championship and pick up from where Azaz left off, or we can share the numbers in and around the team. Of course, it's not impossible, but it would be a huge, huge blow and a huge ask for him to leave for Southampton and Boro to try and find a replacement who could have this sort of influence that Finn Azaz has on Boro's forward line. You take 12 goals and 11 assists out of a side. We saw after the playoff season a few years back how big of a hole that can be to fill. Now, for me, of course, I don't want to lose Finn Azaz, and I also think the £12 million bid or the £12 million valuation is too low as well. I think Boro should be looking a lot higher than that. You look at plenty of other players who've gone to the Championship or left for other clubs in the last few seasons. I think Boro should be looking at least 15, maybe even pushing it as high as £20 million for Finn Azaz, just because of the sheer effect it would have if he was to leave us and the hole it would leave as well. But what I would say is this: as great as Finn Azaz is, and he is an immensely talented and intelligent footballer, if this puts Boro in a position, and it was reported by the Mail earlier today, Boro would be incredibly reluctant to let him and Hayden Hackney go, and so they bloody should be. If losing Finn Azaz strengthens our stance on keeping Hayden Hackney, this could be a strange blessing in disguise, because I'm sure the Boro hierarchy will be very well aware of what the reaction would be and how angry fans would be if we were to lose Rav Vandenberg, Finn Azaz and Hayden Hackney in the very same window. And I think we've all come to terms with the fact that a Premier League club will come in for Hayden Hackney at some point. But now that Azaz looks like he's off as well, that might force Boro to stand even firmer on Hackney and say, we've lost enough. Boro don't need to sell, by the way. You know, the numbers, the PSR, Boro have got plenty of wriggle room with the PSR limitations, and a sell of Finn Azaz will only give us even more wriggle room. So we do not need to sell Hayden Hackney at all. We just need to hope that if Finn Azaz's move does go through, we can sit down with Hayden Hackney and maybe say, listen, due to development elsewhere, we can't let you leave. And we need to then hope that he won't be too upset about that. It's obvious he's holding off for a Premier League move, and I'm sure his agent will be rubbing his hands together at getting Hayden Hackney a Premier League move. So I'm hoping it might not cause too much of an issue if Boro can turn around and say, if Finn Azaz leaves, sorry Hayden, we can't let you go. And of the two, and this isn't, you know, picking one over the other, this is just in the scenario that we're in, if I was forced to choose which one I'd rather keep, as great as Finn Azaz is, as much of a fantastic footballer he is, I'd choose to keep Hayden Hackney every day of the week. And I put a poll out on X that pretty much said the same. It was up for 24 hours. The final results were in, 374 votes. 89% of Boro fans said they'd rather keep Hayden Hackney. So if the sale of Finn Azaz means that Hackney ends up staying, I wouldn't be against that. But it still doesn't take away how much of a loss Azaz would be. Now, what I would say about Finn Azaz, I think he fit Michael Carrick's system to a T. But would he fit Edwards to a T? That's the question. I still think he'd be great. I still think he'd create goals, score goals. But in terms of off the ball, would he be as effective? Would he be as influential? Because we all know Rob Edwards wants his 10s, his forward players to press aggressively from the front, throw themselves into challenges, chase the ball down, get stuck in. I've never been that convinced that Finn Azaz is the type of player who would do that. And we saw plenty of times last season when Boro were struggling in a game or they were in a bit of a fight or a scrap, Finn Azaz would usually get taken off at times. And I do feel like what I would say is he is a luxury player who any team would be extremely fortunate to have. But I think in a similar way to what Michael Carrick's Boro was like last season, I think Azaz embodies that quite a bit. You know, when things were going well, when we were playing great, we had all the ball, we could pretty much do whatever we wanted with the opposition, Finn Azaz looked $1 million. And so did Boro as a team. But the second the game got tough, we got dragged into a fight, a scrap, or we played one of the top sides in the Championship, Finn Azaz was nowhere near as effective. And his numbers, and it's simply a fact, his numbers were nowhere near as good against the top sides in the Championship compared to some of the lower ones. So I feel like he was perfect for Carrick's Boro because he embodied Carrick's Boro. You know, when things looked good, he looked $1 million, he looked great, and he was the best player on the pitch. When things got tough though, and you needed a team who could dig in, scrap, fight, he went missing a little bit. And I feel like they're the sort of characteristics that will be required a lot more under Rob Edwards than what they were under Michael Carrick. So I do wonder if there is a part of the club that are looking at Azaz and thinking maybe he wouldn't be as effective or as suited to what Rob Edwards wants from his forwards, maybe more off the ball than on the ball. That's me not saying that Finn Azaz would be completely ineffective and you know, a player that would be useless for Edwards' Boro. I'd still much rather have him here than not. But I do find it interesting if you look at it from that point of view. But for me, I think this one is going to get done. And he'll go to Southampton, and I think his numbers will be off the scale. Because as I said, with the team he played with under Carrick, he's going to get that at Southampton. He's going to be surrounded by 10 incredibly good players. A lot of them are Premier League players. Their attacking lineup is a joke. He will feast in that team. And I'm sure his goals and assist numbers will be off the scale. And we might look back and hindsight will tell us, oh, we shouldn't have sold him. But trust me, Finn Azaz is the sort of player who I think if you place him in a good team and he's surrounded by top players, a lot of them who'll do the hard yards for him off the ball and allow him to flourish on the ball and do what he does best, he will absolutely take off. And I can see already Boro fans kicking off in 6 months' time when he's got double-double at Southampton. Oh, why did we sell him? He will be far better suited to what Southampton are doing than Boro. They'll have the ball more. They'll dominate games more. They've got better forwards, better players. He'll have a great time there, I'm sure, if and when the move gets done. So this is a tough one. It's a tough one to take. It really, really is. I think for me, the deal breaker is that he wants to leave. And for me, that I always believe if a player wants to leave, then you need to let them go. I think we see it so often nowadays. We've seen it a lot in this transfer window, especially with our Magpie neighbours up the road with Isaac. If you don't let a player leave who wants to leave, things get ugly really, really quickly. And I do feel like, for me, and this is just the way I approach it, this is my attitude towards it, I don't care how good you are. If you don't want to be here, if you want to move on, there's the door. Move on. And the club will have to deal with it. And if Finn Azaz is open and wants to move to Southampton, then I don't think it matters what Boro do. I don't think the blame can be put at Boro's door if they accept the bid from Southampton, albeit it is a low one. I do think if the player wants to leave, I think Boro should get the money they require and let him go. And we move on. And it's as simple as that. It's not like Hayden Hackney, who went to Ipswich, had a look around and didn't fancy it, and has come back and has been absolutely fantastic. If Finn Azaz wants to move, let him have it, as long as they hit our valuation, which I would like to be a little bit higher. So this will be a blow. I don't think it will be as big of a blow if we can replace him. We do have time to replace him, but I must stress, we've got to hold on to Hayden Hackney now. If he goes on top of Finn Azaz, not only does that put a ton of pressure on the final week of Boro's window, with still a left wing back required, still a centre forward required, I think Boro fans have been won over slowly by the club in this transfer window. Albeit a slow start to the window, we've actually ended up bringing in some pretty decent players, and the squad's looking probably better than people thought it would. And it has built a tiny degree of optimism going into the season. If we then lost Azaz and Hackney in the final week to 10 days, I think the bubble would burst completely on Boro's transfer window. And I just feel like it would be such a, as I say, a blow if we lost Hackney, Rav and Azaz in the same window, when we simply don't have to. We don't need to sell all three of them. So fingers crossed, if this goes through, we can replace him. Maybe that'll give us the cash to bring in David Strelec. We'll have to wait and see. We've been linked with him for a long time now. He's a 10, more of a goal-scoring 10, I would say. A good link-up player who I think Boro could maybe try and now fund if we wanted to bring him in to replace Azaz. But I say, and I finish with this, if he goes, which I think will happen, keep hold of Hayden Hackney and do everything you can. But other than that, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Your thoughts on the potential loss of Finn Azaz, maybe the inevitable loss of Finn Azaz. There might be developments between now and when this video drops, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And it'll certainly be interesting to see if he is in the squad at the weekend when we travel down to Norwich. But like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more, leave me a comment in the section below, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.